Yes, it's Friday. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. It's Friday morning. Hopefully, when you listen to it, could be I don't know. It could be Saturday. Anyway, this is Hacking Self Storage. I'm your host, Dean Booty, and I've got something for you guys to think about. Obviously, containerized storage is becoming more and more popular, and the amount of people that are getting into it and trying to beat me to my sites, you mucky people, is incredible. But I love it. I love it. More and more people because it is. I mean, it's a great way. One of my friends is set up in competition with me in Beverly, but I'm not bothered because I just want people to get into self-storage, but obviously do your research, blah, 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 blah. And containerized storage is definitely the easiest way forward. Why? It's because the capital expenses that you will have to pay aren't as much. The cash flow deficit isn't as much because obviously if you are God, I just realized the time I've got to put the kids to bed. Yeah, it's not, if you're basically opening a self-storage facility, 10,000 square foot, 20,000 square foot, the rent could be 100 grand a year. And therefore you've got 100 grand a year rent, maybe 50 grand a year, rates to pay, staff, etc. But you've got no money coming in whatsoever. So slowly but surely you're increasing that, but you might have expenses of, I don't know, 20 grand a month going out at pay-per-click ads. And so that mounts up. Because you've got 20 grand a month expenses and no money coming in. Fuck, that's painful. And slowly but surely, over time, you will accumulate that money and you'll get past that critical point, but it'll take some time. So you need to be aware of that cash flow deficit. However, with containerized self-storage, and by the way, you've got massive capital expenses, obviously, for the shop fit, £31 per square foot or whatever it is. But with containerized storage, you don't have that. With containerized storage, you can buy 5 containers, 4 containers, 2 containers. You can buy them as and when you need them. And normally, substantially, the rent is a lot less because it might be £20,000. Mine's £18,000 at Beverly. The place that I'm looking at, looked at last week by the time you listen to this, was £20,000 a year rent. I put an offer in for a place for £30,000. And so therefore, the rent is substantially lower, which is fantastic. And therefore, that's why the barrier to entry in containers is less. Having said all that, because the barrier to entry is less, the competition will be higher. There will be more competition. Even if you're not in competition right now, you will be in competition with other people. Look at me. My landlord listened to the podcast and realized how fucking good self-storage was. So then he opened up. One of my friends saw how good we were doing with self-storage, opened up a container site. If they haven't opened up inside self-storage, because why? Because there's a barrier to entry. The funds you need to open indoor self-storage are quite high. So there's pros and cons for outdoor and indoor self-storage. The cons for indoor self-storage are the capital expenses and the expenses, the cash flow deficit that you will have to find for that. But then the pros are you're creating a moat around that business and you get a high multiple on exit. With containers, you get a low multiple on exit, if you can even sell it, because not many people are back. Oh, I'm sure you're able to sell it, but there isn't firms out there that's going around hoovering up all the containerized sites. It just isn't. There isn't the safe stores. There isn't the storage kings. There isn't the big yellows who are buying these sites. But there is for indoor sites. So there's a market for it. It's probably a buyer's market for the container sites. I don't even know what the multiple will be. I haven't got a clue because we haven't got the documentation. We haven't seen enough containerized self-storage companies sold. So therefore, I don't really know what the multiple is. But the cons are that obviously it can be a commodity because you will have more competition. But the pros, like I just said, low capex, low running costs, and minimal upfront money you'll need. So it's wonderful. It really is a wonderful, wonderful business model. However, I got a question the other day from somebody who's got a number of self-storage container sites and said to me, Dean, what do you do when somebody competes on price? I was like, oh shit, oh dear, for a container site, what do you do? And the problem is that you've got to make sure fundamentally they cannot compare A versus B. They cannot compare you to somebody else, because as soon as you do that, as soon as you allow that, you're a commodity. So first of all, they should never, ever be able to get a quote like for like. It shouldn't happen in business because we need to set ourselves different. We need to differentiate ourselves somewhere along the line. How do we do that? We do that. So I do that with the standard of the containers. So we paint them. We paint them all different colors to make them stand out and make them look nicer. because that is the first thing that customers will see. When a container looks different to another container, subconsciously, they can't compare the two because one's a different color. Even if you think they're comparing, they're really not, because they're seeing how much you care and look after your things, your assets, your containers. And so therefore, they're not really comparing A versus A, like versus like. It's B versus S or something, because straight away, there's a visual representation, a big difference. And so that, first of all, we need to do that. And then we need to spray our containers, graphofirm them. Yes, I know Willbox, sponsors of this podcast, I've had in-depth conversation with them about their breathe holes, about the ventilation holes, etc. And they say you don't need to ventilate, you don't need to graphofirm them anymore because the ventilation holes are just as good now with or without graphofirm. It doesn't make a difference because of the condensation. That's great. But the customers don't know that. The customers don't know that. So what can you do? You can say you're graphofirmed, etc. Your security. Are your security cameras manned? And yes, we need to get Ant on this podcast and we need to talk about all this, and I keep meaning to get in touch with him. But yes, are your security cameras manned? Have you won any awards? We've won the UK Storage Awards. Whatever it may be, you need to make your container stand out, because otherwise it's a commodity and it's a price-based product. A price-based product, the cheapest win. Another way you can stand out is you can stand out by being in location, a better location. So I want first class locations. In some of the container sites I'm looking at now, it's not possible, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay because I know that I'm going to get a run on the market, and if anybody does outposition me, I'll already be full. But ideally, you want to be in A1 locations. You want to be in the best location. Why? Because people will pay for convenience, and being closer to them, to main roads, main access points, is easier. It's convenient, so people will pay to save time. However, having said all that, what do you do if you're a container site versus a container site, exactly the same, no real difference, no real differentiating factors? What do you do? Well, there's number one, you can either compete on price. Do we really want to compete on price? No, not really. We're a commodity. So what we can do is we can just look at the market, understand your market, and understand, is this competition, is it distorting the market? Is it distorting the figures? Because if there's room for both of you, if it's less than 0.76 square foot per capita, even including yours and theirs, well, guess what? They're going to fill up. So for example, with us, obviously we were better containers, etc. But my competition, my landlord, was 40% cheaper than me. So what did we do? Did we get in a price war with him? No, we decided not to. And yes, it hurt our occupancy. We went down from 92% to 78%. We lost 14% in occupancy. Did it hurt? Yes. Did we still put price increases through? Hell yeah. And once I was full, we knew that customers would have nowhere to go. So therefore, they came back to us. And so now we're 91% full, and we're taking, as you know, with the figures I told you yesterday or the week before, we're taking more money or as much money as ever before. So it's a real successful story. And so that, for me, is one way that we can combat the people who have got cheaper units. There's another self-storage facility that are less than half my price. Less than half my price. Am I competing with them? No. Sorry, guys, I had to put my kids to bed. Apparently, they was ringing me, and I saw them in the window, so I had to go and put them to bed. I've changed my top as well, so I'm back anyway. So yes, so with Beverly 24, we didn't compete on price because we knew that we are different to them, so they can't compare like for like. However, it did affect us, and we had to just suck it up and wait for them to be full, and then we could see that we was getting much higher conversion rates once they was full. But another way you can differentiate yourself is with your website. Make sure your website's prettier, better. Spend some money on the content, spend some money on how it's written, spend some money on the design. Just make yourself that little bit different. Spend your money on SEO, because your first one's seen on SEO. If you're number one, then it makes a big difference. How can you give more to the customers? Can you give free van hire? So there's lots of ways that we can make ourselves different to the competition. But if you are fundamentally the same, absolutely, there's no differentiating parts to your business than them. You've either got to say, do you know what, let's wait until they're full, and then we'll get more and more customers with the higher rate, or you compete on price. You don't really have an option. So if you are starting off in self-storage, then please remember, containers have the chance to be a commodity. The lowest price wins. And so you need to make sure you're different some way, shape or form, whether it's the location, whether it's your offering, whether it's your security, whether it's the things you give your customers, whatever it may be, you need to be different. Otherwise, you will be in a price war. And we never, ever want to be in a price war. We want to stand out some way, shape or form. And yeah, that's the worst thing we want is a price war. It can, because do you know what? Even if you win, you lose. You've won what? The lowest paying customer. It's just a nightmare. So we've got to make sure we're different somehow. All right, my friends, hopefully you've enjoyed that. Fucking hell, 26. Oh, no, it's not 26 minutes. I paused it halfway through. I was going to say, Jesus Christ, that's a long episode. Anyway, you get my, hopefully this helps some people who are starting in containers, starting in this awesome industry. Just remember, we need to make sure we're different some way, shape or form so customers cannot look at us and think, compare one to the other, and therefore, wait a second, the same offering, same product, but one's cheaper than the other. And so we'll go over the cheaper one. We do not want that. And so let's just be different. Let's think outside the box and do something different. I think Leeds 24 storage, something like that. I don't know if I still do it or not. I've heard rumors that don't, but they had a security guard. I mean, how much more secure can your site be with a 24-hour security guard? Incredible. Incredible. I mean, that's just nuts. Get some dogs and chain them up or something. No, don't do that. Don't get some dogs and chain them up. But yeah, there must be some ways you can stand out. And that's what you need to do. Okay, I love you. I appreciate you. And I will see you on Monday. By Monday, I'll be back from my holiday because I've pre-recorded loads of these. And yeah, so I will be all nice and tanned. And hopefully I'll be updating you on what happens when we show prices online. If we're still showing prices online, I'm sure we'll be. It's only been a 2-week. That'll be what? 2 weeks on Monday, something like that. Anyway, I'll speak to you Monday. Stop talking, Dean. See you later. Bye.